just to confirm your suspicion, yes, this robe is hot. But now I'm at that point where I'm soaked underneath it, and it's not a good look, so I'm not taking it off. So Elijah was filled with anxiety. He's having a tough day. You see in this passage, I mean, they're trying to kill him. He's got a tough job. This prophet thing, when you've got a wicked king like King Ahab, resisting him is not an easy job, and he's worn out, he's overwhelmed, and he goes to a cave. Now, in my reading, this is the original man cave. Because in our culture, when a dude is like just feeling overwhelmed and kind of anxious, they'll retreat to their man cave. And I don't know, examine the text closely. I don't believe there's a big screen TV or a six-pack of beer, but there might be, because he's going into his man cave. It's understandable. And I have to tell you, I think a lot of us are feeling anxious and overwhelmed these days. And I'm not speculating. I mean, you talk to me about it. You're feeling like you're handling a lot in life, and life is so complex, and the news and everything, and people are feeling overwhelmed. And I think, just like Elijah starts brooding on all of this. You can see in the passages right before this, he's falling into negative thinking, and I get a sense a lot of us, we're brooding. There's kind of a gloomy, doomy kind of cynicism even that we can fall into, just a general negative thinking, kind of a world weariness, and I sense it because we're talking to one another. And so I want to discuss today how sometimes we can lock in on some negative forms of thinking that don't do us well. But let me back up first. We talk a lot these days about diversity, and it's been wonderful we've progressed in understanding that true human community is enriched by diversity, and you want more interaction with as much diversity as possible, and we've learned so much. And normally when we talk about diversity, we're talking in certain categories like race, class, gender, or sexual orientation, and that's awesome, learning to be true human community together. But there's a diversity that's more fundamental than those categories, and we often don't talk about it. Like, those categories means there's other people in those categories, but there's a category where you're the only one, the diversity of personality. We never talk about this, but holy cow, our personalities can be super different. And anytime we gather, it's like 100% diversity in those terms of different personalities, different perspectives, feelings, ways of expressing ourselves, ways of thinking, ways of seeing the world. We are really different personalities. You are singular in your personality. That's the fundamental diversity. And it's not always easy to get along in that. Sometimes a person will ask me, how many members are there at First-Plymouth? And I'll say, there are 4,249 personalities. That's the real count. And hey, personalities can be different enough. We don't like everyone, right? Thank God Jesus said we had to love one another, not always like each other. Thank God. Because when we love each other, we respect everyone's dignity. We honor their value and purpose for sure. But it's not always easy to get along. Personality. And what a mystery we face when we look at each other's personality. I have no idea what it's like to be Larry or Mark. I have no idea what it's like to be Carolyn. It's a completely singular, subjective experience. You can't know what it's like to be Jim. Thank God you don't know what it's like to be Jim. Yeah. So we face this mystery, and we try to cross that gulf and try to encounter each other, but personalities can be really different. Okay, I want to explain to you that in the 1980s, psychologists came up with a theory on how to describe personality. They said that there's 5 major traits that you have. These 5 traits in you interact in your own special way to create your personality. These 5 basic traits. Those are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And how those traits interact create your personality. Openness. That means how in your personality, how open are you to new things in life or engaging difference or openness? How are you eager for adventure or not so much? Or openness, how out there are you in engaging life? And openness. Conscientiousness is how structured or ordered are you in your living? Do you have it like are you on time everywhere? And are you aware of what others need and how we have to cooperate and such? How conscientious. And in our personalities, those 2 traits would already play out in a lot of different ways. And then there's extroversion. And you already know there's some people that are extroverts that are like super expressive in life. Others are a little more introverted. It's not a right or wrong, but where are you in your personality? How expressive of who you are you? That's extroversion. Agreeableness. This is a basic thing. How well do you play with others? And in our personalities, we have different ways we go about that. And how aware of other people's feelings are you and such. And we're all at different set points. Agreeableness. And then neuroticism is a fancy psychology term. It essentially means how in your personality do you deal with a lot of mood swings? How stable are your moods? But even more importantly, neuroticism refers to how much negative thinking do you fall into? And this is really varied by our personalities. I mean, some of us can perseverate on negative things, and everyone has negative thoughts, but how are you dealing with those in your personality? And do they take over at times? And I'm telling you, I'm feeling like right now that for some of us, negative thinking is taking over, and the psychologists will tell us that there are certain cognitive distortions that any personality can fall into. Cognitive distortions that overplay the negativity in your life and in what you're perceiving. And so they said if you really want to face negative thinking, you have to root out these cognitive distortions, these false ways of seeing things. So they talk about the first cognitive distortion is all or nothing thinking. That's when you look at situations in extreme terms, no middle ground. It's either good or it's bad, black and white. You just see things as good or bad. But that's a distortion. Life is usually this intricate combination of the good and bad. But you'll tend to see things in black and white. It's a distortion. And you'll fall into this notion that well, my friends, it doesn't have to be perfect to be good. But you'll fall into that thought, if it's not perfect, it's bad. Oh, and we do this with politicians all the time. A politician is either good or bad. Trust me, it's more complex than that. Another cognitive distortion is overgeneralization. That's when you take a single negative event, just one, but you apply it to how you're feeling and all other situations. I mean, so for example, you fail a test at school. Then you start thinking you're a failure and life is negative. You overgeneralize a single negative event. You make a mistake and then you think, I am a mistake. It's a distortion. We fall into these distorted forms of thinking. It's just a particular negative event, but we'll overgeneralize it. Another one they talk about is catastrophizing. That's when you exaggerate the importance of a negative event, or you see in a negative event a slippery slope where the whole world's going to end. You catastrophize, or you magnify it in your mind. Some event that may be bad, but maybe it's not that critical, you magnify it. It's a cognitive distortion. They talk about mental filtering, that you only focus on the negative aspects of a situation and you miss all the positive. You filter out all the positive things happening around you. Mental filtering. You take out all the good things and you only pay attention to the bad things. It's a distortion, but we do it. Or personalization. That's when you take responsibility for the bad things that happen around you, but they were really out of your control. But you do this thing in your mind that you thought you had control, you never really did, and then something bad happens, and man, you lay it all on yourself, and you begin to just be saturated with negativity. And lastly, mind reading. You have a bad interaction, and suddenly you start imagining that you can know what other people are thinking about you because something happened. It's a basic social anxiety. My friends, let me tell you, as a minister, I've got a lot of social anxiety. Every minister I've ever met, I have thousands of encounters, and they don't all go well, and I'll ruminate on, oh my gosh, I bet that person thinks badly of me. I didn't handle that situation right. And so after all the services today, I'll go home and just ruminate on it all. Do you have some of that social anxiety where you'll replay the events? It's a type of cognitive distortion. You don't really know what people thought of it unless you talked at length with them about it. So we fall into these cognitive distortions, and we fall into more negative and negative thinking. So it's our job in your own personality, in your own way, to kind of reality test all those types of distorted thinking. That can lessen the negativity. But I'm also here to tell you there's something you can do once a week that can help pull you out of negative thinking. There's something you can do once a week that can really shift your mindset. And you know what I'm about to say. You could go to church. Now, I want to lift this up because we don't often think about how essential church is in creating a place of some positivity. It's just ritualized positivity and joy. Now, hey, at church, we deal with the suffering. There's a lot of struggles. Some people are having the worst moment in their lives right now, and we face the struggling together. But the positivity and joy, though, is also locked in to the community. Because positivity or joy, those are automatically tethered to truth and beauty. And every week we come here and we'll share a truth, the most basic truth. There is God. So we gather around this truth. There is God. There is an infinite love that holds you beyond your wildest imagination. We gather together and we share this truth, and there's a deep positivity in that truth. You're not alone in this. Positivity or joy always connects to truth. So we come and we gather around some basic truth. And positivity and joy always connect to beauty, and we come here every week. It's ritualized. Every week we gather around Jesus Christ, and He's so beautiful, it's almost unbelievable. He's the most beautiful human being ever, the way He treated others, the way His heart was open to God. And when we see that beauty, there's the uplift and the positivity. It's locked into our rituals every week. Once a week, we come together, and sure, we're going to face all the hard things in life, but we've got this joy that's embedded in our gathering, and it can help. Now, I know that there are churches, people have told me that maybe some churches have been toxic in your life, and maybe you've been hurt at church, and I totally get that. Or maybe you've been around a church that made you feel guilty or judged, and I get that there could be negativity, but at the core of a Christian gathering, it tethers you to this uplift and this joy. I heard someone say this, and I loved it. They said, every day may not be a good day, but there is good in every day. Every day may not be a good day, but there is good in every day. Respond to me. Every day may not be a good day. Every day may not be a good day. One more time. Every day may not be a good day. There is good in every day. And we gather together and we say it together because it's true. I heard someone say something that the syntax made no sense. I understood what they meant, though, and I loved what they meant. They said positive anything is better than negative nothing. I'm not sure that exactly makes sense, but I know what they mean. Positive anything is better than negative nothing. Positivity beats out negativity all the time. Now, I'm not talking about how you should have some positivity so that it guarantees things will go well if you have positive thinking. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your experience as a human being right now is made better when you're not locked into a negativity that's not fully true. Helen Keller, she suffered a lot in her life. And she's blind. Do you remember what she said? She said, "Keep your face to the sunshine." She couldn't see the sun, but she could feel the warmth. Orient yourself to that positivity and warmth. Oh, church. There's a lot of negative things happening. That's right. It's true. There's a lot of negative things. But we'll gather together every week and hold to the deep truth and beauty of life. God created life and God saw that it was good. God created human beings and saw that it was good. Amen.